now this is just an intro to InDesign. And InDesign is a program that helps you do layout like newsletters. You can do posters, you can do books, you can do booklets, you can do catalogs, like you can do a lot of things. InDesign is a great tool. It's a great tool. Um, and I've done brochures in them, I've done catalogs, I've done like small things like a funeral program that needs multiples, but you can put them side by side. I've done posters, I've done, like I said, flyers. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Today we're going to work on a booklet, and that'll show you how to do a cover. I'll show you how to do the basics, and then I also show you how to do pages and some different tools for that. So we're going to work on text, color, and everything. So it should be good. I'm going to get right into it. Let me start sharing my screen. All right. So do you see, oh, here's Elise. Do you see my entire InDesign screen here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, Elise. Okay, she's here.
Oh,
Yeah, she's here. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hey,
hi.
Elise, welcome.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We just got started. Okay, so I just opened up InDesign, and it looks like a lot of the other programs. And what I was sharing with Balbina is that InDesign is for layout. So it's for newsletters and booklets and catalogs. So we're going to jump right into it. Sorry about the late start as well, because there was a couple tools I wasn't familiar with and I want to look those up so I can share all that with you. So the first part is just the intro where we're going to go into the program, and then I'm going to go over some of these tools. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can start something fast, a letter document. Oh, okay, it looks like, I'm not sure what that is, but okay. Oh, a letter document. You can do iPad, web, different things like that. So there's different ways you can do quick starts. Hey, Hannah, there's quick starts you can do. And then we're going to just start with an 8.5 by 11, which is like a standard page size. We'll start there. So I like to turn this into inches so we'll know what we're talking about. So I'm going to go ahead. I see there's a recent, that's because I was in here playing around. But if you don't have anything recent, saved, print, web, mobile, it's just exactly like the other programs. They have some places for you to start. And we're going to work on a print because we're going to work on just a mock brochure. So we're going to go to print. The letter, it's right now in picas, but we don't want to use picas. So we'll go to inches. And inches, 8.5 by 11. That's a standard size for magazines, layout, and everything. So we'll do that. We'll give our options of facing pages, and I'll show you guys what that means on the inside. Now, this is in most of the documents that we've created, we can just sort of skip this part, but this is very important in InDesign. So a lot of times in InDesign, you're going to send your final product as a PDF to a printer. So a lot of times you also want to give yourself the option of bleeding because you want your images or your colors to go off the edge. You know, when you see a magazine, it doesn't have a little white border around it. It goes off the edge. So we always put a bleed on most things that you create in InDesign. You're going to put a bleed on there. So we can go ahead and look at that. First of all, we want to have margins. Your margins are your safe areas. An inch around is, half an inch around is a little bit large. So we can go down and look what happens when I press down on this. All of them change because they're linked here. If I go down one more time, 1/4 of an inch is a good margin to have. That way, none of your information goes outside of these margins. And that's really wise when you're trying to create, because if you do have a bleed, it's very unlikely, but a printer, you want to give them some breathing space. If you put it right up against the edge and you do have a bleed, they might cut off your text, okay? So you go ahead and put your margins. 1/4 inch margin is good. And then you also want to you also want to have a bleed there. And a bleed is where your images or your colors go outside the outside of your border. And I'll show you what it means when we open our document. And that way when you have an image, you want to pull it out just about a quarter, or excuse me, an eighth of an inch. And that way your things won't get cut off, your colors, your images, whatever. So let's go ahead and make this an eighth of an inch, 0.125 inches. And then that's all you need. Okay, so then we say create. All right, so now we are looking at what your first page looks like. Okay, so if we go over here to pages, again, all of these programs are set up all about the same. So the Adobe platform is, if you're working on your tools, they're usually here on your left. We're going to go over all of these tools. And then once you click on a tool, you get your options for that tool at the top of your screen. And then there's more options here, and you can find that in window. I don't know if I can move this. Okay, I have this little thing at the top of my screen. I'll move it down a little bit. Okay, sorry, I just don't want to get in the way because I have my recording thing at the top. Okay, so anyways, so here we are with pages, and I think Balbina got knocked off, but I know she'll be back. Okay, so here are your pages here on the right. So now we're looking at this single page, but if you click on pages, the thing about InDesign, which is really, like I said, is a great tool. So right now we're looking at the master page, but say I wanted to add another page. So you can pull down a page and it gives you a spread. So now when we create and you double click and it takes you back to that page. If I click on this page, I'm right here on page 2. Click on this page, page 3. So you can already start creating a document. Let's double click on our master page. But what if I need to add, I want to have a total of a cover and 4 inside pages. So that's what it would look like, okay? Because when you work on a magazine, for example, you don't want to just create individual pages. You want to see how well they work together, and we're going to work on that together. So we're going to create this 5-page document. All right, and we're going to start with the cover, but that's going to be on the next little section. Right now, I just want to go over some of these tools. Now, the thing about Adobe, again, that I love is that a lot of the tools here look very similar to the tools we've used before, and which is wonderful because it keeps you in that mindset of, okay, this probably does this based on what we learned before. So let's just start by, I'm going to use this tool. We'll get to it in a second, but I'm going to just place an image here for now. We'll go through this, but I'm going to use this just for an example. Okay. So say I got a folder ready for us. Let's open this and I'll show you how to do this. But for now, I'm just going to use it as a tool. Okay. I want to do that. I want to fit content to frame. Okay. All right. So now what I did, I'll get into that. But so this tool is our selection tool. That does that. It just moves the entire image. This is the direct selection tool. And it does a little bit different. It moves the image within that bounding box. So say I just wanted a corner of that image to show, then this moves the image within the bounding box versus the selection tool moves the entire box, if that makes sense. This tool is a very interesting tool. So I'm going to delete this. I'm just going to run through these tools. This tool is really cool. It's a gap tool. Okay. So what you want to do with this tool is say you have a box here. And again, once I create something here, up here gives me the options. Let's make it a pink box. Let's make nothing on the border, and we'll go over that. I'm just going to do this quickly to show you the tool. I copied and pasted it. So the gap tool is great because say, for example, you have a layout, but you want more of this image and less of this image. Now, if I'm on the gap tool and I'm over this box, I have a little cross mark because I can't do anything. And if I'm over here, it can't do anything. But watch what happens when I go in between the gap. You see what it does? So say I wanted more of image on the left and less of image on the right. Instead of trying to get everything perfectly, line it up again, I just take my gap tool and I move it like this. It's a really, really cool tool. All right. And we'll play a little bit around. We'll play with around with that a little bit. All right, your text tool. Oh, this is a great tool too. I'll show you how to use this later. It's called Content Collector Tool. And you have to have a layout with lots of elements to show you how to use that, but that is on the list of things, and I will show you that later when we start creating. Text tool is exactly what it is. You can either do a filler text, which I have some filler text for us available to us here. Control C. You can do filler text, and we can work on some text boxes, and I can show you all the different things you can do with text boxes, but text is pretty straightforward. Your line tool, again, pretty straightforward. That's great for elements. Sometimes you just want a line to separate different sections of your layout, which is a great tool. It's a great design element, very simple. Pen tool is exactly like it is in Illustrator, exactly like it is in Photoshop, where you can create different elements with your pen tool. If you click and I'm holding onto my mouse, that's how you make curves. If you just click, you can make straight lines. And if I click, I'm holding onto my mouse and I'm moving my mouse, and that's how you do curves. The pen tool is a great tool, and that's across the board on most Adobe programs, which is great. It's a great tool. This is just a drawing tool. Same thing, it's just with pen. And then when I'm on it, of course, all of my options are here. If I want to make it bigger or thicker, if I want to change what it looks like, which is also a great tool. So say I do this and draw a line, and then I change it to thick and thin. You can do some really cool elements in your design, okay? Okay, let's Control Z. I'm just going to delete all of that. You can play around with that. All right, and this is, I used it a moment ago, but it's a frame tool. So I can just make my frame, say I want an image, but I just want it here. So I made a frame tool. I do File, Place, and then let's place this image here, Open, and the image is placed in. Now you see that's only a part of the image. So we right click, and then we do Fitting, Fit Content to Frame. So now it's a little distorted. And so what you do with this is you press Control or Command on an apple and it stretches it. Or back up a little bit and you can place it, right click, fitting, fit frame to content, fit content to frame, fill frame proportionally, fit content proportionally. So you do whatever you have to do to get your image in there. And then say I want it, which we actually are going to do because we're going to use this as our cover photo, but let's bring it in. Now, if I just pull it out, nothing happens to the image. I'm just pulling out the frame here. But if I press Shift Control or Shift Command on an apple, I can move it proportionately. Okay, makes sense, right? All right, so we'll leave that here because we're going to use this in a moment. All right, so then this is just a rectangle tool. Simply what it is you create a rectangle. You can put a different stroke on there. You can also change the color. Let's change it to pink. You know, all of your options for the rectangle, again, same type of tool that you find in Illustrator and Photoshop, and it does what you think it does. The cut tool, let me open that. Let me bring that back. The cut tool, if I want to cut this image, or excuse me, this rectangle from here to here, it cuts it for me, which is can be a great design element tool. And I want to say it'll cut an image. Let's see. Yep, it'll cut an image as well, which can be a great tool if you want to have text or, I mean, that could be really cool. Um, all right. So then the next tool here is a free transform tool. It's exactly what you think it would be. Oopsie, let me go back one. Okay. Free transform. You can just move it. You can move it. The free transform is great because right now I'm not pressing shift or anything, but do you see how my image is stretching? It's exactly what you think it would be, free transform. All right. Go back. And then this is a really good tool. So say you have a box, it's a gradient tool. It's exactly what you think it would be, just like it is in Illustrator, just like it is in Photoshop. It is a gradient tool and you can change your gradient just by if you have a box. And this is really good. Say you were trying to create some type of design element, or if you just want a gradient on here, and then you can see. Want to see how to change that color. But that's basically it. I have to figure out. I'll show you guys later about how to change the color in your gradient. This is a great tool as well, and this is your gradient feather tool, which it's great because if say you have an image like this one and you want to feather it at the bottom, you don't want it just to have a hard stop. You can feather it at the bottom, so it's a little bit darker at the top and it's lighter at the bottom. So that can be a really cool tool if you just want text here over your image and you want a soft fade. That's what that tool is for. All right. And a note tool is just interesting. It's just like a little thing that if you want to use it, what you do is say you had some text here and then you had another text box here. What a note tool allows you to do is basically exactly what it sounds like. You can take notes on a box. So for example, on a box of text. So here's your box of text. You click on the note tool. You click on whatever text box is highlighted. You click on it. You can put a note, say, this text speaks about the author. So when you later on, you're like, wait, what does this say? I don't remember what this is talking about. You can just double click on it. Double click on your notes, that is. You should be able to toggle back. So it tells you what that way you don't have to go and read all your text. You can go into your notes and it tells you what's associated with whatever you're clicking on, if that makes sense. It's a really neat tool. I've never used it before, and that's one of the tools I wanted just to be sure of before I came on here and looked it up, but it's a neat tool. Okay, this is a color theme tool. So say for example, you want to keep all of your colors, like you're creating this entire document. Some documents, I mean, if it's a magazine, it could be 40, 50, 60 pages, right? So you want to keep all of your themes of your color. And before you would have to, basically I drop every single color, but what a color theme tool does, if you just click anywhere on the image, it creates a color theme. So that way, if you want to say create color boxes later, if you want to create text colors later, you already have a color theme. And if you want to add this to your swatches, you click this button and then go to your swatches and go down and look, your color theme is in your swatches. It is an amazing tool. So I don't have to go and click a brown, click a green, click a this, a click of that. I don't have to click any of those things. I just click somewhere on my image. It creates a color theme for me. And that way I can use this to create different design elements. And we actually will use that as we create our front page cover. All right. So our hand tool is exactly what you think. It moves the entire little background, the page and everything. Anytime you move something, remember Control-0 brings you back to the middle, or Command-0 on an Apple. And then your magnifying tool. does exactly what you think. All right, so that's just an intro to tools. You guys have any questions? Pretty simple stuff, right? And it's nice because a lot of these um, elements are things you're familiar with, things that we've already seen, in Illustrator and Photoshop. So, I mean,